Good afternoon. The Wichita Historic Preservation Board meeting is now in order. I'd like to welcome everyone and hope you're off to a wonderful 2023. First order will be a roll call to confirm that we have a quorum. When I call your name, state present. District 1, Janice Rich.
Present.
I represent District 2, Bob Potter. District 3, Elena Engel.
Here.
District 4, Janice Dixon.
Denise Dixon, present.
She's online.
District 5, Gary Bond.
Present.
District 6, Claire Wellenberg.
Present.
And the mayor appointee, Bruce Rowley.
Present.
Thank you. The agenda was provided to all board members on January 4 via email. Are there any changes required of the agenda? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve the agenda as written.
And to move, Engel moves that we approve the agenda as received.
Rowley seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Unless there is an objection, the agenda is approved as published. Correspondence?
We have no correspondence at this time.
Meeting minutes. The December 12 meeting minutes were provided to the HPP board via email on January 4 for review. Are there any changes required to the minutes? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve the minutes as published.
Engel moves to approve the minutes as submitted.
Rowley seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the December 12 meeting minutes as published. Unless there is an objection, the meeting minutes are approved as published. And it would probably be good to show, I believe Janice Rich was absent the last meeting, so that should be an abstention vote.
Okay, I'll write that down.
Public comment. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. Unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have two items on the consent agenda. Christina, would you care to describe those?
Good afternoon, everyone. On the consent agenda, we have HPC 2022-00135 at the Llewellyn House at 1245 North Broadway. They're doing a pressure test for gas lines at units 7 and 8. And then at HPC 2022-00136 in the Bidding Historic District at 1205 North Bidding. They're doing some foundation repairs. They told me they will protect the windows and doors when they do the foundation repairs. There's an asphalt shingle roof there now, and they're looking to replace that in kind. It'll look exactly the same as before. And they're doing some internal HVAC, plumbing, and electrical work. And on the inside, they're also doing new insulation and sheetrock.
Is there any questions about the consent agenda? Hearing none, we've heard the staff summary of the two projects. Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation for project HPC 2022-00135 and 136?
Engel moves that we approve the consent agenda as put forth by the staff member.
Rowley seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the staff recommendation for projects HPC 2022-00135 and 136. All those in favor, say nay. Say yay.
Aye.
Yay.
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 Opposed, say nay. Are there any abstentions? The motion carries. Project review. Christina, please provide us details of the project.
All right, this is HPC 2022-00137. The applicant is with us here today virtually, David Raypour. He is requesting a second floor balcony and first floor roof deck on the single family house that's located in TF3 two-family residential district zoning. And the recommendation here is to approve. So I'm going to skip forward to some photos here. This is what the site looks like. Before my time here, there was a larger remodel that includes upgrading the HVAC, upgrading the plumbing, upgrading the electrical system, and installing new flooring on the interior and painting the inside. The addition that's in the back here was constructed in 2018, following approval from the Wichita Historic Preservation Board. And see if I can move photos here. There we go. This is a non-contributing garage that's in the back. This is the Arkansas River, the Little Arkansas River. This is just looking north towards the site. I believe these are all new windows and wood siding. This was all approved in 2018. And this is looking away from the site. Okay, so this is the facade in question. So they're looking to build this second floor balcony, which kind of looks like they've already started here. And first floor deck on the north side of the house's two-story addition. So the balcony will be the width of the existing second story double doors and will extend out 3 feet. So as you can see by the framing here, that's a dimension of the balcony there. The wood balcony will be supported by cantilever joists, and the balcony's railings will feature balusters with square posts at the corners and the middle. And I'll fast forward here to the proposed railing, what that's supposed to look like. And then the balcony's railings will also be painted to match the house. So it'll either be navy blue or white to match the existing house's color scheme. And then the unpainted wood deck will be located directly below the balcony. It will extend the length of the two-story addition and will be the width of the rear double doors. So that is what the proposed deck is supposed to look like. They're saying wood, unpainted, preferably stained, but it will be unpainted. So a little bit about the Bidding Historic District. It's located within the city limits of Wichita and Sedgwick County. This small residential district consists of the 1100 and 1200 blocks of Bidding Avenue. It is bounded on the south by North Riverside Park and on the north by the Little Arkansas River. Within the boundaries of this district, there are 39 contributing buildings, 20 non-contributing buildings, and 1 contributing structure. This particular house is called the King House. It's a contributing resource within the Bidding Historic District. So this 1-story wood frame house has classical revival details, as well as an irregular roof form typically found in the late Victorian era. Classical references are found in the gable end returns and the simple square porch columns supporting an entablature. The roof is hip with gablets, and there is a lower front gable porch roof. Windows are tall, narrow, and 1/1. The house has wood shingle siding, and there's that 1-story non-contributing garage that I mentioned before. So a little bit of case history. On October 25th, 1886, the Greifenstein's 12th edition subdivision was created. This house was constructed in approximately 1911. And as I mentioned earlier, back in 2018, the Historic Preservation Board approved this 2-story addition onto the house. Based upon the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and the design review guidelines for the Bidding Historic District, staff recommends approval of this application. Standard 10 states that new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that, if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. And then the design review guidelines for the bidding historic district states that wherever possible, new alterations or additions to buildings should not obscure or confuse the essential form and character of the original building. Avoid new additions or alterations that would hinder the ability to interpret the design character of the historic period or the district. Alterations that seek to imply an earlier period than that of the building are inappropriate. Alterations that seek to imply an inaccurate variation on the historic style are also inappropriate. And with that, I will stand for questions.
I'd like to ask a question of the owner or the person that's doing this addition. I noticed the balcony is very, very small. I'm wondering what they're planning on putting out there and whether there's going to be any weight on it. It just seems to me like it's very small. And I'm wondering what the use is going to be of that. And also I'd like to know if that patio that's coming out is going to be up against those doors that are coming out of the house. It looks to me like that's what's planning, but I wondered if it just comes straight out or if there's going to have to be a step up or anything.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you okay?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for those questions. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm David Rapour. My wife Donna and I purchased this property earlier this year and are just beginning some of the projects there. Let me address the second question first, which was the lower deck. Our plan is to have that deck level with the interior floor as it comes out. So right underneath that sliding door that you see there, and then have one step down to the grass from the.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't want anybody tripping as they're kind of coming out. Is on the upper balcony. First, please accept my apologies for starting work on that. As soon as we stopped it immediately, as soon as we realized we needed your approval, so that's why you see it unfinished at this point in time. Our framers, according to the code, have those joists extending very far into the house from there, creating a cantilevered situation where I believe it's only 25%, I believe, of those joists are actually sticking out. You see 75% of them go into the house and are kind of attached to the existing joists of the floor. So it should be very, very strong. But really, in answer to your question, we're putting this on because our insurance company required us to have a structure here in case somebody fell out that door. We probably wouldn't have done that, meaning we probably wouldn't have put a door there at all, except it was there when we purchased the home and needed to have that for safety purposes. So that's really the intent of what that little balcony is for. We just want it to look right, relative to the historical nature of the house.
Thank you for the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I just have a comment. This is close to where we live, so I drive by here almost daily.
Okay.
Through the years, I've been watching this poor house struggle and have kind of starting stops on renovation, and it is doing an amazing job now. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's possible too, Elena, that there will be, if they put chairs out on that balcony, you can look out over the river.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yes, because that north faces the little arc. It is kind of a messy part of the Arkansas River, but hopefully we'll keep improving that. And it would just be, I understand, a door to nowhere is a serious hazard.
Right,
So I
right.
appreciate what you're doing. It did bother me a little that you had started without permission.
I
But
apologize.
your explanation makes sense. I didn't know if it was the same owner, but you are a new owner. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that explanation. I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I'm curious exactly what you mean by cantilever.
The no posts underneath it. So yeah, yeah.
Hearing no further questions, we've heard the staff summary for this project to approve the application. Is there a motion to accept the staff recommendation? And that is to approve the application for HPC 2022-000137.
Angle moves that we accept this project.
Willenberg seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the staff recommendation for project 2022-000137. All those in favor of the staff recommendation, please state yay.
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 Opposed, please state nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Our next item of business is discussion on PUD 2022-00018.
Yeah,
Christina?
so we have John Clodfelter here today. He's here to talk about some proposed elevations for the additions onto the Holyoke Cottage and to form a subcommittee to come up with an appropriate design for those additions. And you have access to the keyboard here, so you can use the arrows to go through your slides.
Just left and right arrows? Yeah, okay. Okay, well, good afternoon. Thank you. As Christina mentioned, my name is John Clodfelter. I am with Hutton. I'm working with Storytime Village and Prisca Barnes, who is the owner of Storytime Village. And her proposed design to bring Storytime Village into the area that is, I'm going to go to the map here. Yeah, bound by Holyoke to the west, Fairmont to the east, and 16th Street to the south. She's taking a look at the 4 properties there inside that red box. If I were to label these as property 1, this is Holyoke Cottage. Property 2 is actually a vacant lot right now. That structure no longer exists. Property 3 right here is a triplex that is currently being lived in. And property 4 is the Fairmont Cottage. It's our understanding that both Holyoke and Fairmont Cottage are on the historic register. And our concept is to maintain both those structures in conjunction with this proposed, it's about 25,000 square foot of space that's going to house all the program for Storytime Village. Backing up. So as we all know and recognize Holyoke Cottage here, it does have an appeal for Prisca. She grew up in the neighborhood and has some fond memories of just being a kid in that neighborhood and wants to help restore and bring life back into that neighborhood. She also has an interest in this particular building because of its historic nature, its tie back and its origination as part of the Fairmont College for Women, and its eventual tie to WSU. And then since then it's dilapidation. She'd like to bring that back to life and help make that a functional part of the neighborhood again and get that restored. This is the triplex right here that is currently inhabited or habited. The owners, the Farha group, I think are planning on potentially moving this structure to make way for some of the Storytime Village design work. And then we have the Fairmont Cottage, which is a wonderful building, and our program and what we have programmed for that is going to be a perfect fit for what Storytime is wanting to do. This particular building, Prisca would like to turn into a living unit and a artist / author studio. So as part of her program, she invites authors and artists in for 3 to 4 week periods, at which point they can sit and focus and do what it is they do. The patrons that Storytime serves are able to go over there and see what an artist does, what an author does, and actually watch them at work. So this gives them a little bit of autonomy on the Storytime Village campus, but will allow them to go ahead and integrate that function of her program into this 25,000 square foot facility. So scrolling to our idea. So as we started taking a look at this and trying to figure out how we were going to keep a structure in this corner and a structure in this corner, I was really starting to scratch my head about how do we integrate all this. And at the scale of 25,000 square foot internal to a resident or a residential neighborhood, how do we break that down so that it doesn't feel like a big commercial building dropped in the middle of this neighborhood? And fortunately, Prisca was great in naming her operation as Storytime Village and gave us an immediate clue as to how we could start to do that. And the obvious was to go ahead and basically create a village for her. And in this image right here, you can see that we have kept Holyoke Cottage intact. And we've got a wing that comes off to the east that is broken down to make it look like other houses. And then we have a wing that extends off to the north that does the same thing. So if we go back to the plan, Holyoke Cottage sits right here. Our plan is to keep that intact. And this area right here will serve as the entry, the main entry into Storytime Village on the first floor. It will house a little bookstore in there. And then the upper level to that will house all the executive offices of Storytime Village. Our plan is to go ahead and extend a building addition out this way to the north, and then another building addition out this way to the east off of Holyoke Cottage on each side. And then there's an infill back in here that would be a larger, well, I say larger scale structure. It's a community gathering space. So as we start taking a look at some of the functions that are going in here, we'd be working and rerouting the entry in here, putting a ramp system up here to get people up for ADA. Front door would be up in here underneath the covered porch. And as I mentioned down here, we'd have some of the entry sequences, reception. There's going to be a place that is going to be informational. Think about, on the Turnpike, you have the Kansas Information Centers. She wants to develop something and out like that on the first floor that is all geared to everything literacy. So it gives people that come in the option to exercise and find out what is available in the community that can help them with whatever reading issues they may be having. Her primary focus on this and her mission in all this, as she has it listed, is to inspire a lifelong love of reading for underserved Kansas children from birth to age 8. So her programs really start young. And literacy can be a scary thing for those that can't read. It's an intimidating thing. And so her first goal in this was to develop a building that was not intimidating at all. It had to be friendly. It had to be inviting. And so the idea of creating a small village that has a home-like feel to it was very, very appealing to her. It's also got other programs that extend out beyond age 8 into the adult realm. You can go here and kids and adults alike have the opportunity to come in here and focus on how to write a book, illustrate a book, and then publish a book. At which point they then sell the book inside the bookstore in here. With the proximity to WSU, I think she's also hoping to partner with WSU and get some of the WSU classes pulled into here so that they can maybe do a co-op and help teach some of the curriculum. She's busy developing a curriculum. So inside here is going to be a small studio, video studio, sound studio, because she's actually developing TV programs that tie into the curriculum that she's developed. I did mention we have a community center or an activity space planned for this that will be nestled back behind all of this. So it's not present and really visible from Holyoke or 16th Street. And even it's somewhat shielded down Fairmont. Because it's a bigger room and requires a bigger roof, it was harder to break down into these roof lines. So that's why we tucked it back in back to shield it from the residences viewing it. The actual cottage itself, I don't have any photos of the cottage, but basically we plan to leave that pretty much as it is, but just restore it as best we can. So that becomes a livable structure again and is safe for kids to go in and visit and use. This is a view from Holyoke, and you can see how we're coming up and attaching our new structure up against the Holyoke cottage. And then this is a view from 16th Street where we're doing the same thing. Again, we're planning on coming in this area and making our attachment point and then building to the east there. And so again, I think the goal of today was just to get you brought up to speed. We had shown this back during the PUD a couple months ago. And I think now we're just looking to get a committee formed to help us walk through this process and come up with a viable solution so that we can save Holyoke Cottage and save Fairmont Cottage, get Prisca and Storytime Village set up in this neighborhood and revitalize this section of the land.
Show us again the picture of the whole area where we get a picture of the Fairmont also.
The plan view. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Could you speak into the microphone, please? Sorry.
So what you're needing is to fill in the part around Fairmont Cottage and the parts south of Fairmont Cottage, right?
Well, here's Fairmont Cottage,
Yeah.
and that's going to remain freestanding. I have a parking lot slated for this area where the current triplex
Okay.
is.
Okay.
And
All
so the idea from a site plan perspective is that I have 16th Street down here on the downsheet side, Holyoke is over here, and Fairmont is over here.
Okay.
I think Mark Faha has a parking lot up here. And I think our plan right now is to be able to utilize some sort of access down this side of Fairmont Cottage so that we can bring, or she can have some truck access back into here. We can put trash cans back in here. And then she's got a drive loop for pickup and drop off that would allow cars to come in, around, stack, pick kids up, and then exit.
Does she have plans for the Fairmont Cottage at this point?
This one? Yes, that is where the artist and author retreat is going to be. Yeah. So yeah, our plan is to get that fully functional again.
I'm assuming, I mean, we're not going to see a lot of renderings there because the idea is really restoration
Restoration on
only.
that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not adding anything to it. I just want to get things structurally sound again and repaint it and get it up to speed. We also have thoughts for a little community garden in between here and here that could be used. Again, she's got some kitchens planned for this building, 2 of them. One a small teaching kitchen, then maybe a larger catering commercial kitchen. the idea is that if she can get some neighborhood gardening going in here too, that could be used. Again, it's another avenue to teach reading through cooking. So those are some of her programs that are built around that. I did mention some phases, and I should have highlighted this a little better, but phase one would be to get Holyoke restored and to get this section of the addition done, as well as this section of the addition done. Then depending on funding, we would hold out on building this community portion or the large gathering space as a later addition. And we would also try to get this done in phase one.
So the
Well-
plan is to tear down the triplex, is that right?
It would, Mark Farha had made mention of possibly relocating that. But yes, depending on what we need for parking counts and the necessity of having a parking lot here, that house would likely have to move.
I mean, from a historic standpoint, I think it's super cool to have it bookended or, you know, on those two angles. The way you've saved the buildings is pretty cool. I mean, part of me would love to have a breezeway between those other structures.
Yep.
But I do understand probably from a security and lots of other standpoints why it makes sense to attach them.
Yep.
I'm assuming that meets our guideline of being able to have, you know, be removed eventually and not have it impact the structure the way that it's attached there. So from that standpoint, it seems to meet, you know, our at least my responsibility of looking at the restoration of those buildings.
Right.
And I think it's a really interesting way to fix a neighborhood that
Right.
needs a lot of fixing.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of question whether a design review committee is appropriate at this stage, because you're still in the conceptual phase, and really, I think our charge is to review those concepts that come out of your planning rather than develop them.
Well, and that was a question, because I think that what you were talking about right there was exactly the one thing that I think I heard out of the PUD presentation was, is this connection an issue for anybody? We did
Yeah.
kind of brainstorm some ideas on how we could maybe put a glass adapter, so to speak, between this section of our new build and the existing, as well as right here where this clock tower is. If there's a way I could maybe move this clock tower to the east and get the same sort of glass adapter so that you could actually see into the building and see the existing facade of the old Holyoke on the east and on the north.
Kind of like what they did at the Eaton
A little bit,
between those
yes.
structures. Yeah.
Right, and so my hope was, again, to keep taking positive steps forward instead of designing something, getting to a point and then having to go back and redesign, was to capture your guys' attention up front, work with you up front so that we're stepping forward all the time with the right decisions being made versus doing this jump back and forth.
And I do appreciate the opportunity that you're speaking of to not waste your time with ideas and then have someone on our committee or our committee not approve it. So my question is, when you're saying attached to, like that clock tower, are you taking out that whole east facade to attach to the
It would get
clock
covered up.
tower?
So on the inside of that, our hope would be, get back to the plan here. So that tower that you saw is right here in the plan. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but
We
this,
can't, if we're remote, we can't see a pointer.
okay. Our hope is that we would still leave some of the exposed building facade on the inside of the building. So as we're walking through the halls, we're seeing the exterior of the Holyoke house.
Right.
but We'd have to clean that up and restore it, so it's appropriate for inside, but trying to leave as much of that intact as possible.
So if 50 years from now, somebody wanted to make that freestanding again, that could be done?
Yes, because the way we would have to have a separate foundation system for our new building that would come up next to the existing Holyoke cottage, they'd be two independent foundations.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
And that makes it easier for us because part of the guideline is that any alterations made should be able to be undone.
Can you go back to the rendering on
Yep.
there? I mean, I'm not an expert as much as you perhaps on this. Is it your belief that these additional structures here follow the design of that time, of that correct time
Right.
period? I can't tell whether it's older.
So that's a good question. That's a good question. Where I ended up basically coming up with these, go drive through College Hill. You'll find every one of these over there. I scavenged, took pictures and said, here's our vocabulary that we're going to use to build the other houses with.
I recognize that.
Yeah,
that
this one's
lawn
actually
brick one there.
on English, right there. Yep. There's several Tudor style over there, and then I dipped a little bit and played a little bit on the farmhouse idea over down on this end. So again, it's just an idea of trying to. College Hill's a great example of just different types of architectural styles, all hitting about the same time period. Felt like it was a great solution to, again, keeping a commercial building from feeling like a commercial building in a residential neighborhood.
Well, again, I applaud the effort there. I don't think developing a design review committee at this stage, though, really is in our scope.
Okay.
I don't know, that's typically done after we receive an application, after the conceptual part's been hammered out.
Okay.
And
So who could give me some guidance on just what I was talking about, though, is if do we feel like it's something we're comfortable with, close to as designed, that I go ahead and finish getting some more information put together for you? Or do we feel like we really need to have some sort of glass adapter, if you will, that interacts between this structure and this structure?
One of the other guidelines is that it not pretend to be something that was there all along.
Right.
And so we need to keep that in mind in keeping them so that they can be done away with in the future.
Right.
Right. But I don't think anybody would be confused about houses abutting like this. That would never have been done in 1880 to 1935,
true.
which is roughly what you've got design wise there. It's
Mhm.
it's cool. It fits the storybook village. I think the materials used are going to show that they're newer or not of the same period.
Yep.
So Elena, my opinion would be that would be all right. Something close to his conceptual drawing.
It's really cute and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Mhm.
John, to answer your more specific point of, do we need a divider
Yep.
there? From my opinion, I think a divider is a bit ham-fisted in trying to make the point these are different, and back to, I think it was, I can't remember what it was, Claire or Elena's point about, it's obvious that they're new the way that they're townhoused like that. So I don't think some sort of glass divider is necessary, particularly if the way it's constructed is such that, as you pointed out, they're on separate foundations. 50 years from now, they can be torn down and the original structure still stands on its own. And I think that meets the standard that at least my understanding of standard we're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would agree. I would think if you want to include somebody, there are some past HPB members that might be willing to just meet with you infrequently, or
Okay.
at some point you'll want to probably pull in somebody from Wichita State. As you mentioned, you'd like to work with them on some of the programs.
Yep.
And I don't know if Jay Price would be involved, be interested in being involved, or
Right.
any one of us could meet informally, I would assume. Is that right, Christina?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
No more than 3 people.
And I've already had conversations with Jay Price,
Cool.
specifically on some of the historic aspect and getting some more information on my end. Just because it's going to help with some of the historic detailing, as well as some of the fun detailing we may do on the inside, and spread that
Mhm.
out.
You know, a name that comes to mind is Mike Syward. He's retired now, architect. He's been on the preservation board. If you just wanted somebody else to throw some ideas at, I don't know if you know Mike,
Okay.
but you know, I can see your point in wanting some advice as you go along. It would be informal and not official,
And that's fine.
but I think some of us would be interested.
Great. Perfect.
I
Thank you.
agree with Bruce that I'm not sure that the glass divider needs there. I think the way you're approaching it looks to me like it would be fine.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
In the future, are you thinking about applying for any tax credit project on either of the 2 properties?
That is something that we haven't addressed yet. We're still, we've got a preliminary budget set, and we're continuing to refine that as we move through this, and we're gonna see what Prisca will wanna go after in response to that. And
Yeah.
it may be something where, for sure, on the Fairmont Cottage, she may go after it there, because again, we're
Cool.
just restoring that and not touching it like we are on this one. So we got to navigate that with her still.
Sounds good.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mr. Klopfelter. We applaud your efforts there. Okay, our next item of business is the review and comment on the Preservation Board bylaws. I think everyone has seen 2 or 3 different versions of this, one in matrix form. Christina did a remarkable job in taking those comments and developing a rough draft document to work with, and that was attached to your agenda. Are there any comments to what's been done so far?
I have to apologize. I didn't realize there was a computation on the agenda. So I have not looked at that. I'll try to scan through real quickly because I did make some comments earlier and sent to Christina. So if anybody else has comments while I look through this.
Well, I particularly liked your idea on 2, the way on section 2, the way it needs to read. I particularly like that. Talking about each city council member shall appoint 1 representative from that district, and the mayor shall appoint the the seventh member. That seems to be more clear than the way it was before.
Okay, I'm having trouble finding it, but did we add that then those appointments are confirmed by the city council? Because they are. I'm trying to.
Yes, that was added.
Okay, thank you. And my other question mainly, when I sent it back, Bob, I don't know if you saw it, but I sent my comments back and I said, Bob did a super job and I liked your format. It was so easy to follow. And I would just make a check mark when I agreed and I made a few comments there, but you put a lot of work into this. Is our legal person one of our, excuse me, ex officio, or is he just sitting there?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah. Are you part of the ex officio members?
No, I am not. Just an
Okay.
advisor.
Advisor, okay. Do we need to refer to that anywhere?
I went back and looked at the municipal code on development of the various committees, and I couldn't find where legal was ex officio on any of them.
Right, but do we need to say he is present as a advisor? As I saw it earlier, there was no mention of a representative of legal, and we have one and we love to have him. So I don't know if we need to mention it in some way, not as a ex officio, but as an advisor.
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't know.
Yeah, again, I was trying to be consistent with what the municipal code said, and there was no mention
Of
in,
legal? Okay.
Yeah.
What is our legal advisor then?
It's not necessary to be referenced as an advisor.
Great.
It's not in the municipal code, and all committees are provided legal assistance.
Great. That's good. I like simple, shorter. Again, Bob, you did a great job, and Christina, thank you.
well, if there are no comments, could I get a motion to approve the amendment to the bylaws of the Historic Preservation Board as published?
Willenberg moves to approve the amended bylaws of the Historic Preservation Board as presented January 9th, 2023.
Do we have a second?
Rowley seconds.
I would like to amend that by saying there's some parts of the wording that I think need to be changed. And it may just be the way it's written on here. The district advisory board is not the district advisor board, it's the advisory board. There are several places like that need to be changed.
We
But
have
it
some
is,
housekeeping.
it is plural.
Yes.
I would withdraw my motion if we want to look this over, and Elena, you do your housekeeping, and anybody else, and we formally adopt it at the next meeting. Would that be better?
I would prefer that, yes.
Then Elena, do you wish to withdraw your motion?
I made the
Councilman Claire.
motion. Claire would withdraw if the second Bruce would agree.
Sure.
Okay. And like I said, I didn't have my mistake. I did not follow through and read the presented final. So that'll give us all a chance to do any little. I think we all agree the content is good. The some housekeeping grammar errors might be present.
Okay, so the motion's been withdrawn. Is that okay for the seconder?
Thank you, Claire.
Okay, it's been withdrawn and seconded. I guess the action item would be for the next meeting for Elena to bring suggested language changes to the board for review.
Or anybody else. Yes.
Those be suggested to Christina in the interim and included in a final that can then be presented for motion at the next meeting?
Yeah, that's a exact repeat of what we did this meeting, but that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we just didn't quite get it cleaned up yet. Super.
Do we
Do we
need a
need a
motion?
Yeah. I moved this, would that be tabling until next week with any suggested revisions submitted to Christina? Is that what we need?
Honestly, because you withdrew the motion, it's still on
Right.
the floor. So the action item will simply be for Elena or whoever else has suggested wording changes to get those to Christina for publication, and we'll review at the next meeting.
I so move.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the status of the ad hoc committee on signage language. The report is the ad hoc committee met at Miracle Signs offices and fabrication facility on December 30. The committee was provided a tour of sign fabrication and got a firsthand look at the latest in sign materials and fabrication technology. Following the tour, the proposed language for items 61, 62, 64, 76, and 77 of the design guidelines was further discussed. A second draft of the proposed language was compiled and sent to the subcommittee for review. Those comments are due on January 11. The next step will be to resolve any comments and then go to public comment. So there'll be a further report on this task at the next meeting. Any questions on that particular item? Okay, I believe we've concluded the business of the day. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Engel moves that we adjourn.
Rowley seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn without objection. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.